Hello, welcome. I am the Watcher, and Corey, you have been chosen.
Oh,
Mark, you have been chosen. Don Willi, the Williams, you have been chosen
oh
to
no.
talk about What If, the season finale. We are here to talk about what if the Watcher broke his oath and went around collecting people and going, "You have been chosen." So,
Are you gonna provide the Chinese food and beer?
Yeah.
yes, if I can figure out a way to magically get it through the internet to you, I have it. I have the beer at least, but I
I
don't
could
have
definitely
it.
go for some.
Okay, so which one of us is going to respond like Thor? Like, probably me if I was trapped.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, let's go around and say hello. We'll start with our regular guest who's been here every week with me, Mark from Jam Eternity. What's up?
Hey, it's good to be here once again and talk about this finale. So excited about this show, so excited to talk about it. And yeah, I was satisfied with it. So yeah, willing. You just can't wait to get into it. Jump into it.
Okay. And special guest this week, joining us for the third time this year, Don Willi, the Williams.
Greetings and salutations, everyone. Now, as you can see, I have the Infinity shirt, the Infinity fitted, and I am ready for war.
And joining us for the second week in a row, Agent Corrie Shoemaker. Good to have you
Hey,
back
guys.
again.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here and chatting about the final episode. So much to talk about. I'm still trying to figure out my battle cry. It's not Viva Las Vegas. It might be like something about Paris. We'll see.
Yeah, I don't have a good battle cry. I think that was a good one actually, Viva Las Vegas. But I mean, what else are you gonna do? Oh, by the way, Brandon Howells, you have been chosen. Darren from D's Reviews, you have been chosen as well. Hey, how's it going? Thanks for joining us in the chat. Let's start with our overall thoughts. I'll start with you, Don, and if you want to also kick in about episode 8 a little bit too, since you weren't here with the three of us last week, feel free, or you can just talk about this week, whatever you want to do.
So this week was obviously, very climactic, just for the fact that we have the entirety of the gang who we've been looking at for the season individually coming back. And first off, let's talk about the end of last episode where after the Watcher has thoroughly got his ass kicked, he had to go to evil Doctor Strange and say, "Hey, I need you to help me to save everything from this evil android." So that was kind of crazy because Strange finally realized, like, yeah, you know what, I totally screwed things up, and so I need to try to redeem myself somehow. So it was exciting to see that go down, and then also the different things of, all right, you have been chosen, you have been chosen, you have been chosen. Um, it was a little, like, I was wondering, like, okay, what in the world is Killmonger's part in all of this? Because obviously he's a villain. He's obviously here for his own devices. What is he here for? And when you see the ultimate reasoning for him being there, I'm like, I get it, and I liked it. I loved the setup for the episode, and I can't wait to see what they do with next season. Because obviously there's still a couple of dangling threads there, and there's an entirely missing episode apparently. So yeah, I don't want to ramble on, so I'm going to turn it over to or I'll give it back to the watcher. So you may give it to whoever you're gonna have go next.
Oh,
Well, Agent
okay.
Corey, you have been chosen. What
right.
are your thoughts on the episode?
Oh, I liked all the little Easter eggs where we got to see bits of previous Marvel scenes or Marvel films, but they were sort of tweaked, or the dialogue was different, or the characters were different. I liked that. I know we've done that through the whole season, but I really liked what they did with Peggy and Natasha at the beginning, the opening, where she's like, well, what about Bernard in accounting? Which is an exact copy of the opening scene where Natasha is trying to set up Steve on a date, and that doesn't go according to his plans. So I like seeing those little Easter eggs here and there. Apparently, the missing episode, we got to see a little bit of it where they were melting down the gauntlet. But that was one of the missing episodes where Tony in the like junk Hulkbuster armor and Gamora were melting down the Thanos gauntlet and making something. That was apparently that lost episode. Yeah, what else did I like? I like that Peggy actually grabs Mjolnir in one of the scenes. So I'm like, oh, does this mean she's worthy? I'm pretty sure she is. So those little moments. Those are what I liked the best, and the ending, of course. But we'll come to that later. I don't want to spoil the ending.
Mark, what did you think?
All right, so where did I hear Nico? Okay, so I thought this episode was pretty good. I didn't think it was like amazing. It didn't blow me away. For one thing, it did feel rushed. Like we were worried about that they were trying to put too much on the finale, and it wasn't as bad as I was worried about. To be clear, so it still worked, but it still felt like they needed more time. And I was reading an article, and they were talking about how they actually wanted. They originally intended to make each episode like 45 minutes long, but because of COVID hit, and they wanted to reach their deadlines, is why they made it shorter. And I think in some episodes that shows, and I think this is one of them. But it still worked. It was still great. Like I would have liked to see, the Guardians of the Multiverse getting to know each other better, where it just seems like they had this unearned familiarity with each other, like all of a sudden. But that being said, it was still great, and it was still good to have all the different characters we've seen, and they serviced like every single episode was shown or referenced of the season in this episode. And I think that was a great way to end it. But it is a very sort of, I don't know, it's not really what I expected out of What If. I'm more like the individual, like, ooh, what if this happened? Where this is like Avengers, different multiverse version, which is cool. I did like it, but I think it would work better if there was more time. And a lot of it, and I keep my criticism of previous week's episode where some of the action scenes did feel a bit cartoonish. I mean, I know it is a cartoon, but like it felt more so than like previous episodes of the show. But I watched it for a second time, and I was overall enthralled with it. Overall, it had me, caught my attention. I think so. I thought it was great. I just think it could have been better possibly if they had that more time. But, you can't do anything about COVID. Also, it would have helped if we had that missing episode, which apparently also because of COVID we didn't get. So and I read an interview with one of the producers of the show, and they were like, well, in the large scheme of things, like missing like an episode or a couple minutes from a cartoon show is not the worst thing to come out of COVID, which is a good point. So I can kind of forgive it for that. So I enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it for what it was. I think it could have been better.
Well, I mean, anything could have been better. I mean, there's like very few things are perfect, but I actually thought they made a very efficient use of the 30 minutes they had. I knew we were getting these Guardians of the Multiverse. We've known that for a very long time. I knew that it was only going to be 30 minutes. And going in knowing those things, I thought they did the best that they could possibly do. It was better than I thought it would be. I love this episode. I would probably say is my favorite of the season. I thought it was a great ending. As Mark said, it wraps in all of the previous episodes. I love the interactions between Peggy Carter and Natasha, which we'll get into. I love that. There's so much, and I've actually come to find that I actually really love the Captain Carter character quite a lot. I just love going back to her first episode and in this one, how she's always like, "That's brilliant." I just just her positive attitude. I just love her so much. And Party Thor, for me, I know everyone else in the world hated that episode, but I thought he provided some really good comic relief in this episode. I didn't feel that they really knew each other in an unearned way. I thought the fact that they didn't really know each other came through, but maybe that's just me. I don't know. That's how I saw it. And yeah, I love this episode. And Dawn also mentioned the Killmonger thing. I was also like, why did he take Killmonger? Like, what does he expect him to do? And also, I talked about last week about Zola. Like, well, isn't that a dumb plan? Because wouldn't Zola just take over the Infinity Stones and do the same thing? And that's what he tried to do. But it turns out it was all part of the plan. The Watcher, like the chess master of the universe, could think 1,000 moves ahead. Like he had it all worked out. So I loved all of it. I really thoroughly enjoyed this episode. I think the one thing that would be a real downer is disappointed we didn't actually get to see that missing episode. I understand it was COVID related, so I don't like fault the show for it, but it kind of sucks that we didn't get to see it. And I remember when I saw the leaked list of episodes, and it just had like 2 or 3 words description, and I think I showed it to all the people on here too. And episode 8 was originally listed as Tony Stark and Sakaar, and they left out the one that we actually did get in episode 8 that wasn't on the list. So I think whoever made that list, I think, got a little bit confused with what was originally planned, and they put the missing episode into it. But that episode apparently we're going to get in season 2 still, which is interesting since we've already seen the aftermath of it. So I'm wondering. I still would like to see it though. I almost want to see it I would love to see it as just like a bonus release before season 2, so we don't have to wait that long to see it, because I want to see what happened. I'm really curious about that episode, but we'll talk more. I wanted to talk more about that as we go through this episode. So let's go ahead and get into it, unless you guys had any additional thoughts before we start going through the episode.
Nope, I'm good.
All right, so I want to start with the opening, which is pretty much the exact duplicate of, as Corey was talking about a little bit, of the Winter Soldier opening. And we had Peggy Carter the first time. Her episode was kind of like the first Avenger, so now we're going to the next Captain America movie. Skipping over the Avengers, we assumed there was some form of the Avengers that happened because she and Black Widow are friends. And I loved this relationship that they had, because I feel like they seemed like a lot, I don't know, closer than her and Steve were. Like, I don't know, they have this special kind of bond that I don't feel that Steve really had.
I believe the term is BFFs.
Yes, that's right. You are absolutely right. The term is BFFs. Or maybe not like a stronger bond, but it's just different because it's 2 women and it's just a different kind of thing. And I really, really enjoyed it. And I didn't notice until the second time through that they do a repeat of the line where at the beginning Peggy says to Natasha, "Oh, I'm the shield and you're the sword." And she said, "More like knives, but cute joke," or whatever. I forget what her exact words were. And then that comes back later with the other Natasha, where she's like, "It's more like an arrow with the mother of all viruses in it, but cute joke." So I thought that was kind of cool. I really enjoyed the interplay between those two characters. Well, let's go around the horn. What did you guys think of this opening scene? We'll start with Mark.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. It was sort of a continuation of, as you said, like we got a different version of First Avenger. Now we're getting a different version of this one scene from Winter Soldier. But I do like that. I think I like that continuity, and it's really interesting to see it from this perspective and see how Peggy's relationship with Black Widow would be a bit different than Steve's relationship. They actually seem to be closer and had like that sort of joking back and forth. So yeah, I thought it was a great way to start the episode. It's because it starts in that same, oh yeah, this is just a different version of a movie that we see, but until the Watcher shows up out of nowhere. And I think the way he shows up was great because she was like fighting that fancy dude, and she was like, oh my god, he's like, oh, you're scared of me, but it was like the giant Watcher behind him. Like that was a great way to sort of get that things going. So yeah, I thought it was a really great way to start the episode.
What do you think, Don?
Yeah, so Captain America: The Winter Soldier, one of my favorite, not just MCU movies, but comic book movies, period. And the whole interplay between Batroc and Captain Carter, very very good because you get to see a little different version of Batroc's fighting skill. And a little more of his cockiness that it's like he was cocky with Steve, but he was like extra cocky with Captain Carter, and he paid for it as he should. I liked when Widow finally got him in the end, but during the beginning when he was fighting against Peggy, it was like, come on. There's no way he's going to win this fight, and there's no way he should. So, but I do like the fact that they got George St. Pierre to actually still voice him again. So, great opening, and yeah, like compared to Captain America: The Winter Soldier, there are things about it I actually do like even a little bit more. It wasn't as fleshed out. But I liked the pacing for it, and I also liked the outcome of it. Because you get the whole because at first it seems like Peggy's doing the whole, oh, look, what's that behind your back kind of thing, and it's like, no, there actually is someone there.
Yeah.
So I love that.
What do you think, Corey?
I liked that we get a little bit more background on Natasha and Peggy's history and friendship. I love that Natasha knows Peggy's type because she's joking about, what guy is her Peggy's type. When they're talking about Batroc, and they say he racked up 36 kill missions before the French Special Forces showed him the door. And that's like, oh, it sounds like more your type than my type. So that was great. And she's like able to joke with him about Steve in a way. Like she's like, well, would you like the guys if his name was Steve? And Peggy's like, oh, you've hurt me to the core. And then she just jumps out the plane. So I like that they have that kind of camaraderie where they can joke about something that previously, I guess, in her past would have been hurtful. What made me laugh was Batroc. I'm not sure how to pronounce his name correctly, but when he was trying to fight her, I'm watching it and I'm going, what are you doing? Like, are you actually fighting her, or is this just like a hip hop breakdance move? Like, what are you doing? He's like, aha, 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 and I'm like, okay, first off, if you're trying to impress her, you definitely haven't impressed me. What are you doing? It was just a very strange fight scene where he was like throwing in hip hop with like kung fu. I don't know what he was doing, but it was, yeah. I think.
It was, yeah, I agree. It looked like he was doing the helicopter there at the end.
Yeah. Did you just spin on the top of your head with you? This is not a rave, sir. This is a fight on a military vessel.
Yeah.
like clearly you have your social calendar mixed up. Like the party is tomorrow, the fight is tonight. So yeah, that just made me, I was confused, but I was also laughing. So yeah.
I also wanted to just mention that I don't know if anyone else made this connection, but when she said Bernard from accounting, I was wondering if that was intentionally Jeffrey Wright's character from Westworld that they put in there because Jeffrey Wright is in the show. I don't know, but that immediately made me think of Bernard from Westworld when they said Bernard from accounting. Maybe that Bernard from accounting is also played by Jeffrey Wright. We don't know. But anyway. Anyways.
Brandon in the chat said that no British person would pronounce Bernard that way. It would be Bernard. But Haley Atwell is British, so she pronounced it that way. Or she's just mimicking Black Widow's pronunciation of Bernard.
Black Widow pronounced it first, so maybe she was just pronouncing it the same way.
I'll try to do it properly. Bernard.
Oh, he's Bernard. Whatever. All right. I'm not doing it properly. All right. So let us move on. So then we get the Watcher going around, going, "You have been chosen," and there's so much to talk about here. But let's start with the Gamora, because even though I knew it was coming, I knew there was this missing Gamora episode because we always see her in the trailers, and I was like, and I actually thought that was going to be last week. I was really expecting last week to be the Tony Stark and Sakaar and Gamora episode, but actually I think if they're going to cut one, that's probably a better one to cut than episode 8, because you need episode 8 as part 1 of this, so we did need that. Personally, I'd cut the zombies, but I know it's super popular, so they would never ever do that in a million years because everybody else loves the zombies, so I get it. But
plus we could throw them around through portals.
Yeah.
That's fun. Like,
yeah.
Zombie attack.
Yeah. But the Gamora, so from what I have gathered, that episode, I've heard that it was supposed to be called "What If Gamora Killed Thanos," and it starts off with Tony, and I don't know if that's true or not. I don't know if any of this is true. This is just things I heard. That it starts off with Tony Stark at the end of the Avengers movie, like he doesn't escape the portal; he gets sucked into space. Ultimately, ends up on Sakaar, ends up taking the Hulk's place as the champion, and uses that Hulk armor. And I don't know where Gamora comes. Somehow Gamora ends up on Sakaar, and somehow she kills Thanos. Something, blah blah blah. But I kind of am interested in that episode. I hope they do actually show it, because I'm very curious about that. And she has this Infinity Stone crusher, which I'm glad that they still, conveniently explained because we didn't see that episode, so that was good. But I don't know, what were you guys' thoughts on seeing this like missing episode? Did it feel a little jarring? Did it feel a little out of place? At first, I did feel it was a little jarring, but I kind of just got used to it. And then the second time I watched it, I was like, okay, whatever. I'll start with Don.
Yeah, so this was obviously a lot of it was a change of pace because you're getting the band together. They all gotta get used to each other. And the funny thing for me though was the Killmonger and T'Challa kind of situation, because obviously T'Challa recognizes that, okay, this dude is from Wakanda. He's got some version of the Black Panther armor. And then later on, he actually calls him cousin, which I was like, did I miss something there? Because, in the universe that T'Challa is from, he never met Killmonger, at least not that I know of. And definitely Killmonger is like, yeah, okay, dude, you're dead because, fucking killed you. So, yeah. So that was one of those things where it's like, huh, this is a little weird, but all right, I'll roll with it for now. But Thor's got to have his beer because Thor, uh, and the longing, even in the animation, the longing look in Peggy's face when she saw the picture of Steve. Oh man, it was heartbreaking. It was
My
heartbreaking.
heart.
Um, and so it seemed like the Watcher uh started to kind of take a step back and be very hands off. It's like he told the Guardians, what they needed to do in terms of, okay, here is the threat out there. And then it was kind of like, all right, I'm back to Watcher mode for a little bit. And it was like, all right, dude, no, you brought these people together because things are screwed up. You can't just kind of back off now and be like, all right, kid gloves. Like, no, they might actually need your help. I mean, you didn't like. I understand you were getting your behind whipped through like different realities, but most of these people are just human. So yeah, it was definitely one of those things where I was like, all right, well, I see the team. I understand he doesn't want to interfere with the team too much, but it just almost seemed like he didn't have their back as much as he should have. But they went to the one place where there wasn't any intelligent life unless they decided to summon them, and of course, Party Thor, being the frat boy he is like, yeah, I just got the hammer, lightning, I've had beer, yeah, lightning. And Ultron comes in and is just like, oh, okay. There isn't any intelligent life here because the six of you are here, and obviously, you can't be that smart if you're calling me. So that was actually pretty funny just to see that whole sequence of events and Thor being his most Thor.
Thor's just reducing the IQ on that planet into the negative zone just by being there.
Yeah,
like
so,
yeah.
I listen. I liked Party Thor in his own episode, and it's not that I didn't like him in this episode, but I think they might have went just a little overboard with the frat boy party characterization. Because then he was like, "Oh, did Loki put you up to this?" That guy's always playing tricks, yada yada yada. And so he was kind of the standout in that regard. Killmonger. Because he just has to be evil for the sake of evil. Seeing him look at that Ultron robot head, I'm like, okay, what is he planning? Because he's not looking at that for no reason. There's a reason why he's looking at it, and obviously it got revealed later on what the reason was, but at first it was just kind of like, all right, what kind of jerk off move is he planning in that brain of his? Personally, I wish T'Challa would have shot him, for revenge for the alternate version of himself. But can't win them all when it comes to that. And I like that Strange finally was trying to find a way to redeem himself for his past transgressions. I wish he would have done more though, because he just seemed like he was. It was like a D&D game, and he was just a mage. It's like, all right, we need protection spells. The party member's hurt. I got to make sure to provide a healing spell for him. I was like, all right, but you can do some actual fighting maybe. Not that he didn't do any fighting, but it wasn't as extensive as I thought it would have been for the amount of power that he possesses, because he was the only one that could actually keep Ultron at bay. So that was the thing that was kind of like, all right, it's just a little weird, but it is what it is. I don't want to ramble on too much, so I will yield time.
Yield your time. Okay, Congressman. Yeah, I did want to. There was a couple things you said that I just wanted to comment on real quick. So as far as the cousin thing, I feel like there was some sort of briefing that everybody learned who everybody was, because it seemed like they all knew details about each other, and maybe that's the unearned familiarity Mark was talking about. But I got the sense that Doctor Strange gave them some off-screen briefing where they kind of got some basic facts about each other. That's what I assumed as far as how he knew he was cousin. And I do have to comment to what Brandon wrote that I personally loved Party Thor. I don't care who was annoyed by him. I loved him in this episode. He was great. I thought he worked well for comic relief. I liked all of his lines. He made me laugh. And it was perfectly timed. So I enjoyed Party Thor. But we've kind of jumped around a bit. So Mark, did you have anything to say? The original topic was Gamora. Or also anything in that beginning scene, the Watcher going around saying, "You have been chosen."
Yeah, I think it is jarring having that missing episode. I think, and I feel like this episode won't feel completely complete to me. Like it's like 90% complete right now. It won't feel 100% complete until I've seen that missing episode. But I mean, they give you the gist of it. They give you a rundown. Like you can catch up, and so that's good enough. But it sounds like a really good episode. Like I agree. Like give her the zombies. We didn't need that stupid zombie. I mean, this episode, you don't even need the zombie episode for this one. They take a portal with a bunch of zombies drop in, and you have the Scarlet Witch zombie. Like you don't need to see that episode to know that. Where I feel like if I would have saw that missing episode, it would have been much better to have these characters, because these characters seem a bit incomplete, and it makes me curious when they're in that world with that Peter Dinklage giant dwarf character, and I'm like, what are they doing? Like I want to know. But anyway, I also have to say that Infinity Stone Crusher that she had looked a lot like the spider from The Expanse that stole the proto-molecule and slapped Holden in the face. That's what I was thinking.
I was wondering what that reminded me of. It reminded me of something. Yeah, okay.
It made me think of the little spider bots in Disneyland or Disney World on the new Spider-Man ride that you're supposed to use to like... where they like all get loose and it's like, the Spider-Mans have gone crazy and they're destroying the campus. That's what made me think of.
But anyway, since we brought up Party Thor, unfortunately, I'm gonna have to agree with Brandon in the chat. I didn't really like him in this episode either. I mean, he was okay, but he was very the obvious contrived comic relief. Like, well, I heard some other like commentaries asking like, why they get this version of Thor? Surely there's like better versions of Thor out there. And I was like, well, because they need to have comic relief, obviously, because this is the Marvel show and he needs to be the obvious comic relief. And sometimes I think he was over the top, honestly.
Well, the reason why I thought they got him in universe reason is because he's already fighting the Ultron bots. Like this is the one world that Ultron's already invaded, so it made sense to get him.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense. But I did like that scene though when he was the Watcher's like, you have been chosen, and he just completely ignored him. I was like, I got you, and I got you. And the Watcher had to literally grab him, and I was like, freaking out. Like that was funny. But when he was actually at the bar, it's like, I don't believe this is a trick from Loki, and he went out into space like that stuff, and kind of lost me there.
That scene when the Watcher grabbed him, I won't take credit for this. I didn't pick up this on this on my own, but it was another YouTube video that I watched. Shows that it parallels the Ragnarok scene when he's going through that little weird tunnel thing that the Grandmaster puts him through, and he's going, ah! And then all of a sudden he's like in the Grandmaster's palace, and he's still going, ah! So it's the same exact. It was cut the same exact way, where he was all of a sudden he was screaming when he was in the, and all of a sudden he's in the pub and he's still screaming, and I thought that was pretty cool. That there's a lot of little Easter eggs like that aren't really apparent. They aren't like they aren't direct connections like the beginning of the episode to Winter Soldier, but little things like that they throw in all the episodes, what I think is cool. But anyway, Corrie,
yes,
do you have any thoughts?
Well, I think you had asked if we thought that the Watcher going from person to person was jarring.
Well, actually, what I meant was the Gamora thing was jarring, but you can say if that was jarring too. But I was talking about whether having these characters we've never seen before is jarring.
Okay. I thought you were asking about like the quick jump from person to person.
But you can talk about that too.
I didn't find that particularly jarring per se, but I think I also was just trying to remember what happened in every episode. And so it was it was like I was seeing it again from the beginning, and I was just taking everything at face value. And I assumed that they wanted this kind of, open the door, grab the character, close the door, next scene, open the door, grab that character, close. So it was supposed to be like a sudden, we're in a scene and now we're not. Now we're in a different scene and now we're back. And so I assumed that was the point. I did like the Party Thor scene where he was fighting in Las Vegas. And he's so caught up in the fight that he doesn't even notice the Watcher. Like, he's the only character that's limited on the IQ level enough that he's just focused on the fight. Aha, take that. Have you, at you, and at you. And, he just totally doesn't realize what's going on around him.
Well, I don't know if I'd say that was him being stupid. More of like he's so in the zone. He was like so involved that it was just ignoring everything else around him.
I mean, I could see him doing that with like Jane or something. He's distracted by something. She's like, Thor, the pizza's burning, Thor. Like, he's like, aha, take that, new Master 3. He's just that kind of. He's that kind of a character. So I love that. It was hilarious and funny and cute within its, frame of reference. And I loved how he was complaining about his date being ruined when he's taken. Like, the only thing he cares about is he messed up his date with Jane. Like, I was going to have a beer. We were going to have a nice date, and you had to, ruin everything, which I thought was great. And then, of course, they're transferred to the pub, which Doctor Strange has created from Peggy's memories, which I'm like, how did he get Peggy's memories? And how? That's interesting. I like that they have a picture of Steve on the wall. And my question is, why is his picture on the wall? Like, is that in memory of him? Because we assume he's dead based on what happens at the end of the episode. So he basically goes the way of Bucky in the Winter Soldier in the actual movie. So we're assuming he's gone and he's dead. Is this pub named after him or something? I don't know. But I like that Strange did that and made this kind of safe zone, very recognizable human zone within a world of crazy. But I will agree, I feel like closer to the end of this episode, Thor starts to wear a little bit thin, just in the sense that the character that's always portrayed as the dumb character can just become, it can get to be too much after a while. And I'd rather see a Thor that has some kind of intelligent growth over the season, I definitely wouldn't be, that's not the Thor I would want to sit down and have dinner with. I would probably strangle him or attempt to strangle him. I probably couldn't because he's a demigod.
Yeah, but the real question is that a Thor you'd have a beer with? Because that's the real question.
No, that's a Thor that I would. Yeah, that Thor would like give me a headache. I would rather sit down with Loki than with that Thor because that Thor is just going, oh my, I can't handle it. If he does one more stupid thing, I'm gonna scream.
Yeah. So I want to move on in the episode, but I do have one last question about that the opening scene there where they're all in the pub. Who delivered the Chinese food? Or does Doctor Strange just magically created, I guess. I guess that's where it came from. But Thor was like,
came through a portal.
Can we get some interdimensional delivery? And then the next scene, they're actually eating Chinese food. I was like, where'd that come from? Doctor Strange can magically create Chinese food. That's a pretty nifty power. I wish I could do that. But
well, he creates beer because even in the film,
that's true.
He keeps giving beer, Thor.
So I guess he can create Chinese food.
What I thought is that he used his like portal thingy, like to reached into a Chinese shop and like grabbed it and pulled it back in.
So there's some Chinese. And does he use his hand or does he use his tentacle? I wonder. He probably used the tentacle.
No, you wouldn't want to do that because Chinese or Japanese, they might think that's octopus, and they're like, let's. You don't want to do that. I'm just imagining some poor guy who's doing like the takeout, and they're like, "Where's order 25?" It's like, what happened to order 25?
Yeah, and again, I saw this in another video where it's pointed out that they did that in Avengers Endgame. They were all eating Chinese food. I didn't remember that part, but I guess that's in Avengers.
I don't remember that.
Yeah, I don't remember that. But when they were like figuring out their plans for the time travel, they were all eating Chinese food.
And they did have shawarma as a group, like bonding. Right? So.
Yeah, I don't remember them eating Chinese food. I remember Ant-Man eating a taco that got like blown away.
Yeah. No, they actually showed the video. Showed the scene. They're all Chinese food, so it's for real. But I didn't remember.
I know. Yeah, I have to listen to you, but yeah, I just.
Anyways, I don't want to talk too much about Chinese food.
Now we're all hungry.
I want to get into the battle. Don touched on it a little bit with Thor, basically calling Ultron. That also could be, when you look at it the way that the Watcher, had everything planned and chose everybody for a reason, chose Killmonger for a reason. I mean, he may have chose Thor for that reason, so that he could
probably
screw up and call Ultron too early. But I really enjoyed this battle scene. I understand what you're saying about it being cartoony, but I don't care. I thought it was a lot of fun. Well, the first part where he Doctor Strange, of course, puts those spells on them, which is a pretty cool thing to do because they would have been destroyed instantly without them. But he just causes an earthquake and they fall in to the ground, and then he does the Darth Vader line, all too easy. That's the classic Darth Vader line from Empire Strikes Back, all too easy. And turns around. And I actually really liked how Ultron, because Corey mentioned this last week, how Ultron was almost a little too invincible. Like you could just, there's no way to kill him. So I kind of enjoyed seeing him always thrown off by things that they were doing. And just like, what the? And just being confused. I love how their tactic was basically to confuse the hell out of him.
Why can't you die? Why won't you just die?
Why won't you just die? I've just
like me with a spider in my room.
Yeah, I think that's probably how Ultron looked at them, as these spiders that he couldn't kill, like these annoying pests. Because he used to just being able to kill them like pests, kill people like pests, and like these people won't die. And my favorite is all like Doctor Strange multiplying all the Mjolnirs, and then and Peggy Carter grabbing onto one and flying on it.
Which could be a sly reference to Mary Poppins, British flying thing.
Yeah, I didn't even
Disney
think Mary Poppins with a Mjolnir.
flying Miller.
Yeah.
The nanny you didn't know you needed, but you want now.
That would be a pretty
Need your
badass,
robe.
pretty badass nanny, Peggy Carter with the hammer. Yeah, there's other things I like too, but I don't want to. I can talk more about it later. Mark, your thoughts on this kind of battle sequence?
To be clear, I actually didn't think this part of the fighting was too cartoony. I was fine with this. To me, it didn't get too cartoony until after they crushed the Infinity Stones, and it was all like that. Like this part, I thought was fun. I actually really liked this part, and I did find it funny the way like Thor attracted attention and the giant I love how like Doctor Strange's cape like tapped on the shoulder, like, look, this is where he's coming from. and I was thinking like when they fell, like when Ultron like crashed the whole ledge they were standing on, they all fell, but they survived with the protection thing. Like, would it since they weren't ready, couldn't they be like? Shouldn't they just hide and pretend to be dead until Ultron goes away? Like, I was like, oh, you could do that tactic, but instead of that, they came busting out like, oh, we're still alive. Making it clear that they were still alive. But I get your point of what you were saying about the whole point was the tactics was to confuse him, and that worked, and I thought that was interesting. And yeah, it was great. Like, I didn't get it at first until the second time I watched it with that Doctor Strange multiplied all the mirrors everywhere like that. That was cool. Like, yeah, so it was a really fun scene. They all have their different turns, like fighting him. I'm thinking of another part of the other fight. I guess we'll talk about that later. So anyway, yeah, I like that one.
Yeah. Don?
So yeah, I talked about Mage Strange with his protection spells and all that, and it's funny because he said that they wouldn't stay on too long. They seemed to work for a pretty lengthy amount of time.
The whole episode, yeah. Yeah.
So it was kind of weird because I was expecting that, all right, well, maybe after the first couple of hits or something, it was going to wind up failing, but it wasn't until Ultron basically was like, all right, I'm going full power now, that it started to kind of wane a bit. I liked the multiplication spell or duplication spell he did on Mjolnir, to bring out a ton of them. And obviously them trying to keep Ultron off balance. That was an amazing sequence because we got to see them, even though they weren't the team that the Avengers is in terms of, length of experience, just the fact that it was like, okay, the fact that they, were like, okay, we know what the objective is, keep him off balance so this way we can get the stones and be able to crush them. And they were able to do that, so, and then Natasha with the Red Guardian shield. Awesome. Seeing her and Peggy, basically giving Ultron the once over. I love that part of the sequence, and just how it kept going. Obviously, things didn't necessarily work out in their favor when they actually did have the Infinity, like the Stone Crusher, but that whole sequence that led up to that, I absolutely enjoyed it. I thought it was a brilliant piece of work, and the animation was absolutely like, I loved it. It was top notch.
Yeah, I always forget to talk about the animation. Rob usually remembers to bring it up when he comes on. I love the animation in this show throughout. There are some really great scenes that you can point to in each episode. I also wanted to throw in there the zombie scene as well because I do agree with Mark that we could have had this without having the zombie episode, but then you wouldn't have had your super popular episode. But I didn't catch it until the second time when Thor was like, "Oh, zombies, really cool," and Doctor Strange was like, "It's not the zombies; it's what came with them." I didn't actually catch that line the first time, and he was referring to Wanda, I assume. And I also didn't catch until the second time that the reason how Ultron's able to destroy her is because she hesitates for a second when she sees that she looks like Vision, and she's like, and then, which was dumb. That's just a thing from that episode that I thought was really dumb, where they did that tired old trope from zombie movies and like a ton of horror movies too, where somebody is, luring people in so he can feed them to his zombified wife or whatever, and it was completely out of character for his Vision, and that the whole sequence in that episode pissed me off. So that the fact that she was just like that was dumb. I just don't like the zombies. Everything about them is dumb. But they found a way to get in every single episode, as Mark said. So that was kind of cool to have the zombies fall on Ultron, and that's really all that we see of them. And then I do want to talk more about what Don was just talking about, but did you guys have any other thoughts, Corey?
I did. So I'm sure someone else has mentioned this in other review videos, but the protection spell that Doctor Strange gives to everyone, each sort of, visual personification of it, they're all armor that looks like something from that person's time period or history. So Peggy has a very medieval knight type looking armor when he, I don't know what it's called, the glow armor protection spell, whatever we call it. And Thor is very Asgardian with the style of it. And so I thought that was really neat that each one is unique to the character that the protection spell is protecting. Also, Thor's big opening attack that he does for Ultron is very similar to his first opening attack against Tony when he tries to blast Tony in Avengers, and it's total power level is 4,263%, and he's like, "Hey, whoa, what do you know?" Right? It totally didn't work. So that was very similar in approach. I also like that T'Challa is he's trained to be a thief, and so the thing that he does well is stealing the Soul Stone. But it also reminds me of Tony in Avengers when he steals all the stones onto the gauntlet, and also when they're trying to steal the gauntlet in their first attempt to, beat Thanos. Also, side note, they just need to bring Ultron to Mustafar and melt him a la Terminator style, and then we're good. We're all good. just teleport into the middle of Mustafar with a lab field, boop, it's done. He's melted. It's
Yeah, and then Ultron will give the thumbs up as he's going down. It
was solve all the problems.
Yeah.
Save everyone. I just assumed that the reason they sent Wanda, or he brought Wanda with the zombies, is that she was so powerful.
Yeah.
And that he
was definitely.
She would kill, but
keep him busy for a little while, I think was the idea. Yeah.
I thought also Ultron had a line where he said, if he destroys the Guardians of the Multiverse, then they all will fall in their own individual worlds. And I didn't really fully follow his logic there. I know he was saying that each of the stones, the Infinity Stones, are specific to the world in which they were created or the world in which they reside. Therefore, the stones they tried to destroy, they couldn't actually destroy them because this Crusher was from a different timeline and a different world. But he seems to imply that if he can destroy them, then he destroys all versions of them. And I was a little bit, I don't know.
I didn't catch that at all. When was that line?
It was right after they talked about the Crusher.
What I think it was, I don't know if this is the line you're referring to, but I know there was a point in the episode where he realizes that Doctor Strange is the one providing them with all the protection spells. So it's like, if I can kill him, then everyone else will die. All I need to do is kill Doctor Strange, and all those other people will die as well because he's the true power behind them.
Yeah, that's the line I thought of too. That's the one that I heard, but I'm not sure about.
Also, Doctor Strange turning into that beast, like losing control over what his inner demon, I guess. And Peggy comments on that. She's like, "What can I ask? What happened to you?" And he says, "Same thing that happened to you, love." And I'm like, isn't this like? I think it was a totally different scenario, and I think you made some really radically different choices.
Yeah, you left out the part about how Peggy didn't destroy an entire universe,
or like sell her soul to the devil. Essentially, like she doesn't have tentacles.
She actually fought the tentacle monster, which is probably why she's like, "Hey, why do you got those tentacles?"
Yeah. So that was kind of interesting. And then we also had dueling Infinity Stones, where Doctor Strange is using the Time Stone to counteract the Time Stone that Ultron is using, and that's why everybody kind of freezes, and they're like, "What's going on?" So I thought that was
beautiful animation. I love the animation on that, the way everyone was like slow like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was just the bit where Doctor Strange turned into the monster. It kind of made me think of the big fight scene where Wanda was staying up with Vision in the tower, and then she finally comes down and controls everything, and one of the guards is like, "Why was she up there the whole time? Why didn't she join us?" And I kind of felt like that with Doctor Strange. Like, why did you wait till then to release the Kraken slash?
Well, that's what Party Thor said. He was
that was
that was a Party Thor line. He was like, "You could have done that the whole time.
You should have led with that move."
But I think it makes sense why he would reserve it, though, because you don't want to show your most powerful. But that was a funny line. He's like turned into dragons or something and all went after Ultron. He was like, "What, you could do that?"
Yeah.
I wonder how different the storyline would be if they brought in Loki as well, because then you would have like two shapeshifter controllers.
I think you gotta have Loki would be kind of comic relief too. So I think you gotta have one or the other. But I would have been fine if they had Loki. But
well, he would also.
He'd just be complaining to Thor. He's like, "Of course, you just had to go through the open door, didn't you? Now we're fighting another stupid monster with a ring."
Well, depending on which version of Loki, it could be like another villain. You already have Killmonger, so he fills that role.
Yeah.
There. Those were all my points.
I was gonna talk about the sequence with the Soul Stone and then the Infinity Crusher. I know we've kind of already touched on it a little bit. I also wanted to mention again, I love that Peggy Carter Natasha connection, and I love that she's able to use that with this Natasha from another universe who doesn't know her. I assume she must know who Peggy Carter is, but she doesn't know Captain Carter the way that Captain Carter knows, or at least knows her version of Natasha. So I enjoyed all of that. I really enjoyed the interplay between these two characters and how she was able to connect with her, even though she's from a different universe. And then they're the ones who kind of team up to release the Zola arrow. But before I get into Zola, did you guys have anything else on that whole ending sequence? Was there anything we missed with the Infinity Crushers and all of that stuff?
I was going to say that the Peggy and Natasha sort of connected quote of, "I've got the shield, you've got the sword," kind of reminded me a bit of Steve and Bucky's "I'm with you to the end of the line" kind of thing.
Oh, yeah.
Where they have a catchphrase that embodies their friendship and close relationship.
Yeah. But this one was even more cool because it was across the universes. Like it was with two
Yes.
different versions of Natasha that they did the same joke, which I thought was very cool.
And I just love that when she first grabbed the soul stone, I was worried because I thought, oh no, is this like an evil Natasha from some weird universe where, what's she gonna do? But it turned out okay. And I, again, like you said, Alyssa, I like that she uses that friendship and that trust of taking information about Natasha that was previously used by a villain to show like authority and power, right? Like Artem's always like Natasha Romanoff, daughter of, right? Yeah. Whereas Peggy is using it to show, I don't have just data about you, I know you as a person. And so that was really sweet.
Yeah, I know, it was very sweet.
I was going to say one of my favorite moments of like all the fight scenes in this episode was when they had Peggy and Black Widow on one side. They each had their respective shields. Like Black Widow had Russian shield, so they kept like belting him from each side with it. Like, and that was amazing. I do love because this kind of speaks to my critique I had in last week where I said like I wonder like Doctor Strange seems like the only one who's able to hold up to Ultron. So what are all these peons gonna do? But that was actually, they had the protection spell from him, which makes him like, less vulnerable. But it shows like how awesome like all the stuff they could do, like just to keep paying him from both sides with it. So yeah, I thought that was pretty amazing.
Yeah, I thought that there was a lot of fun things like that just throughout both of these fight sequences with the multiple Mjolnirs and the shields on both sides and just a lot of fun stuff in there.
And I love that we kind of got basically a female version of Steve Rogers and the Red Guardian, but we get Natasha with a shield and we get Captain Carter with a shield. So it's like, what would these stories be like if we had a female in that role? And I just love that it holds up and there's absolutely nothing lacking in that presentation of that story. So it's like, we can have this character be female and it works too, which I love. So.
Yeah.
And that with the shield. I mean, also it's paying homage to her in previous films because we saw her in Age of Ultron where she's like, I'm always picking up after you guys. And she's on the bike with the shield, right? And she gives it back to Steve. So that was kind of a foreshadowing.
Cool. Don, anything else to add on any of these fight sequences? I want to start talking about Zola, but did you have anything else to add on this first? Okay, so then we get the very cool Zola scene, which mirrors the scene from Ultron, Age of Ultron, the film where Ultron takes over Jarvis. Like they're kind of these computer generated things, and I love that scene because I don't know, Zola is really evil, but there's something about him that I just love, especially when to have him be the one to take down Ultron. I thought was very, very cool. And then of course, as I said last week, well, isn't that just going to create a new monster? And you're just going to have Zola be the new Ultron. And then that is counterbalanced by Killmonger, which is why Killmonger was there. So it's like, the Watcher knows what he's doing. All right. So, and I wondered, it did make me wonder, like, what was the original plan? Because last week, the Watcher was, they were in the files in that Raiders of the Lost Ark warehouse where Clint and Natasha were trying to find the file. And he was like, no, you're so close. That's the right file. So I'm kind of wondering if he, at that point, had already thought this far ahead and knew that he needed Zola, and then if later he would get Killmonger, because it seems like he would have to, because otherwise I don't understand what the original plan would have been, just with Zola and no Killmonger to kind of counterbalance him, so that the stones could be free, and then Doctor Strange can just freeze them in that. Whatever I wanted to call it a warp bubble, but that's a different show. But like that. That little pocket dimension thing, So I do wonder if the Watcher had already planned this far ahead, that far back. I wonder. But anyways, I'm the one kind of rambling. I will yield my time now to let's go over to Dawn.
Yeah, so the Zola sequence. I had completely forgotten about the arrow until Natasha picked it up, and then I was kind of like wondering, okay, well, how does Peggy fit into this, right? Because I wasn't even thinking about the whole, okay, well, she'll lift up the helmet and Natasha will shoot Ultron in the eye. So when I had first seen it, I'm like, now is it that she thinks that the arrow won't get far enough and maybe she needs Peggy to jam it into Ultron or something? And then finally, once she gets on his back and lifts up the helmet, I was like, oh, okay, that's what it was. And at first Ultron didn't even seem to be phased by it. And then you go into like the inner mind and you see, Zola pop up and it's like, okay. Oh, he's got him. It's about to be on, and then it was kind of crazy after that because, after Ultron is basically defeated, you see, I guess, more of the classic comic book Zola where he's, in the middle of Ultron's chest. And it was like, okay, well, yeah, you thought that was going to work, but, Mr. Eric Stevens actually had his own plan, and that was the counterbalance. And it's like, okay, I see why he is here now. He is basically here to stop Zola from becoming, the next version of Ultron, but also Zola is there to stop Killmonger from becoming the next version of Ultron. And then Strange is there to just stop them both from becoming the next version of Ultron. So, like, I got it. This was a very interesting sequence, and I think it was a nice capstone to the battle.
Mark?
Now, I could be wrong, but my way of looking at this is that in last week's episode, the Watcher maybe had like an inkling that Zola was the way to defeat Ultron, but not a specific plan. I don't know. I could be wrong, but I just had the impression that last week the Watcher was like really taken off guard by Ultron and how Ultron was able to jump universes. Ultron, as we talked about, Ultron like pretty much defeated the Watcher. The Watcher had to retreat in order to get away from him. And he felt like he was like defeated and didn't really know what to do. But then he started talking to Doctor Strange at the end of the episode. So I get the impression that in between episodes, it was when he came up with his ultimate plan to defeat Ultron. And so here we just see he had already, like we talked about, as like a chess master sees like 50 moves ahead or whatever, and he had already perfectly placed everything. So here we just see all the pieces that he put in place just play out, but he knew exactly what was going to happen, which I really love. Like, to me, that's better than I always had a problem with. I'm always bitching about Infinity War, but I always have a problem with Doctor Strange saying, oh, there's only one way to defeat Thanos, which I still don't buy. But this, to me, seems like the better version of that. Like, the Watcher knew exactly which pieces, and I love, so that kind of harpens back to like the scene in the pub when I think I can't remember who it was, but someone was bitching about Party Thor being there, and it was like, so why'd you choose it? Like, why'd you choose these people? Why you chose them? And then Gamora brought out her Infinity Stone Crushers, like, yes, I chose them purposely. And so the more I think about it, the more I think like what you mentioned earlier about Party Thor, like he might have purposely been there so he could fuck up, so so he can get Ultron's attention, because that's all part of the plan. And T'Challa was there so he could steal the Soul Stone, because that version of him was a great thief or whatever. And so I think they were all perfectly chosen to play their parts. And of course, we know why Killmonger was there. So so I love that. I love that aspect of it, that the Watcher already won before the episode started. We just get to see how he wins play out, which I do think is in contrast to last week's episode, because I think last week's episode he was caught off guard and didn't really know what to do. But I think in between there and here, he got his shit together and found out the perfect plan to defeat him. So that part of it, I love.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. He was caught off guard last week, so he definitely came up with the plan between last week and this week. You're right, but I still wonder. Then I still don't understand what they thought was going to originally happen when he was like, "No, you're so close to the file." Like, I just still think Zola was just going to be the new Ultron. So I don't.
Yeah, I think, I don't know. I would think that maybe he knew Zola was the way to defeat Ultron. He just didn't have a plan yet on how to defeat Zola. But that's something that he would come up with later.
Yeah. Corey, what were your thoughts on Zola and
I was going to say
stuff?
It could be also that at that point he thought they had a way to destroy or remove the stones, because as long as the stones aren't there, Ultron can be defeated. The problem is if he still has the stones and the virus has taken over, that's when we're in trouble.
Yeah.
So I don't know if maybe the stone crusher would have worked in that timeline, and then I'm not sure. I like the line where he says we were never meant to win. Doctor Strange realizes, we weren't meant to win. We're just meant to separate the stones to stop the inevitable from happening. So I like that kind of aha moment, because I going into the episode, I assumed the goal was to win, to beat Ultron. So to have that not be the goal was quite interesting. And then we basically have Strange is an eternal babysitter. So maybe he can take some lessons from Captain Carter Poppins with her, Mjolnir. The one thing I did like was Thor's line where they're trying to explain to him what a virus is. And one of the characters says it's a mutation. And Thor says, that would explain the stomach face.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, yeah, you got to laugh out of me for that.
Yeah. So I have a question for you guys. Do you think that at some future point in the MCU, Ultron and Killmonger trapped in Doctor Strange's thing are ever going to escape or ever going to be a factor again? Or do you think that's just it? It was just a what if thing and then we're never ever going to see it again? Because I honestly don't know. I'm kind of curious what you guys think.
Well, we do have a season 2 coming.
Yeah. Yeah, I would hope What If would do something different, though. I would hope that they would move on to a different storyline. But I'm just thinking maybe way down the line in the multiverse of, not in the film Multiverse of Madness, but generally now that we're getting into multiverse, madness, generally in the MCU, I was just wondering if that could come back into play. But also we've got Kang and all these different gangs, and we've got all kinds of other things that still need to happen. And
running around.
So there seems like there's going to be a lot of villains. I mean, I feel like Doctor Doom is eventually going to come into play. So maybe not. Maybe that's the end of it, but I don't know.
I mean, I think it would be a good way to bring back the character of Ultron, because, of course, Ultron died in Age of Ultron, and this is like a better, different version. Although Ultron's dead now, too. It would actually be Zola, so never mind. It would be Zolatron, I guess. But I don't know. I think that if it is ever touched on again, it will be in What If. That's just my guess. Maybe not season 2, maybe further down the line if there's more seasons. Who knows at this point? But I have a feeling that it wouldn't be in other MCU material. So I think if we do touch on it, it would probably be What If. But that's just my guess.
Do you have any thoughts on that, Don?
So, I mean, Seeing them locked in eternal freeze frame like that, I mean, it's one of those things that I think they would only revisit that well if it's like, all right, the hype has kind of fallen. We need to get the hype train back on track. It's like, all right, you know, next season of What If, and they break out or whatever, So
Release the ferrets or the
yeah,
kraken or the.
I don't think that that's something they plan on doing unless it's like, all right, well, people aren't as excited anymore. What can we do to excite them again? So yeah, Zoltron versus I was gonna try to come up with Killmonger or something and try to mix it with Ultron. That didn't work. But yeah, Zoltron versus Killmonger, and then Kang comes in and steals the Infinity Stones or something like that.
Zoltron versus Doommonger.
Boom, there you go.
Cool. Where are we at? So yeah, then we wrap things up. We have Doctor Strange trapped them in that's the thing, and then we kind of wrap things up for the characters. All the characters go back. And of course, Peggy hesitates. And the Watcher's like, no, you are where you need to be. But if her universe plays out like ours, she'll just, at the end of Endgame, she'll go back in time and see Steve Rogers and marry him, and then then be an old Peggy passing the shield on to, I don't know, maybe in her universe will be Natasha. I don't know. But
I like that.
Yeah, that would be. Were you going to say something? Go ahead. You can jump in.
I was just gonna say I liked that they had Peggy wanting to return to her old timeline and saying like, don't I deserve, a happy ending too?
Yeah.
And it was kind of mean for the Watcher not to say like, well, there's a happy ending for you in this timeline, so you need to be there because there's somebody waiting for you there.
He doesn't want to give spoilers though, he doesn't want to spoil things.
But her timeline needs Captain Carter, and what I like that whole. We can go to the bonus scene in a bit, but what I loved is that Natasha gets a second chance or a fresh start because her world's been completely destroyed, and she's the only person left, and there's zombies everywhere. I love that they send her right to the middle of a battle, which is a different version of the Battle of New York. And the Watcher says, it's a world that lost its widow. And I think that's the only time I teared up. I was like, oh, they're getting back their Natasha. I mean, it's a different Natasha, but I'll take any Natasha at this point, okay? Maybe even zombie Natasha. I just want my Natasha back. And I love that she says, oh, it's a mess. Because she left, everything fell apart. So she has to come back and fix the world, which I thought was really sweet. So I liked that.
Well, it was the one from episode 3 where all the Avengers got murdered.
And
so
wasn't it the one where Loki took over? Because we had
Loki
Fury fighting and
so Loki had taken over the world, but at the end of that episode, he goes and gets Captain Marvel and Captain America. And I did not catch that at first. I was like, wait, why is he? I thought it was in the first Avengers movie too. And I was like, why is Captain Marvel there? And then the second time I watched, I was like, oh yeah, that's episode 3. Okay, I get it now. That's the world of episode 3 where Loki had taken over, and they had just revived Steve Rogers for the first time. And then Captain Marvel came. He paged Captain Marvel. But then they got Natasha back. The one thing that bugged me about that scene is when Nick Fury was just like, "You're not my Natasha." How the hell does he know that? I know he knows that his is dead, but I think his reaction would be more like, "Wait, how are you still alive?" like I don't think he would just know that she's from another universe. But I don't know. Maybe Nick Fury knows more about parallel universes.
Secrets have secrets, right? So
we only got 30 minutes. We got to wrap this episode up, so we don't have time to go into the long details.
He's in outer space, so we'll give it to him.
I was gonna say, like, I was the same way. Like, when I first watched this episode, I didn't catch that was episode 3 until I thought about it, because I had forgotten about how that episode had ended, and I thought about it. I was like, oh, wait a second, that's from the one, yeah, because when Loki had taken over and Captain Marvel, Captain America, because that's like, oh, I want to see that team up, and I still wanted to see more of that. It sounds awesome. But I the more I thought about it, the more I kind of wish that they brought Natasha to our universe, and so they could bring Scarlett Johansson back for more movies. Like, I don't know, but I guess they're probably just done. She's probably done with it.
I think that would be weird if that's how they brought Natasha back to life, is through this animated show. And, oh, now I'm back now. Like, I don't know. Right?
Well, they had 2 chances to bring her back, and both times they messed it up. So,
I mean, it would be weird, but it would also be awesome that it would be this obscure thing that a lot of people wouldn't like miss and went over their head, and they'd be like, "What? Natasha's back?" But anyway,
like watching Solo, a Star Wars story before you went to Clone Wars, before you went and like, wait, Darth Maul's alive? What?
I liked also that we got to see everyone's happy ending, but then we also got to see what the Watcher's happy ending is, which he says, every story is my home and I will protect it to the end. And he like summarizes that all creatures are searching for a place to belong, to call home, but his home is within these stories, which I thought was very meta-narrative, because it could also be the viewer or the fan of these works or these comics saying that, like, I find my safe space in these comics and in these stories. These stories are like home to me.
Well, the one thing I want to ask is how much the Watcher is actually changing the course of time by doing this. I know that he needed to bring everyone together to defeat Ultron, because otherwise there'd be no multiverse. That makes sense. But then by taking Natasha and putting her into that other universe, isn't that going to change the course of that other universe? And removing Killmonger and now he's frozen in this thing, so he's removed from that universe now. So how's that going to affect that universe? Probably
the Watcher is just a fan. He's a fanboy.
Well, it seemed like that maybe Shuri and Pepper were about to get him anyways. I don't know. I mean, they might have been successful. Yeah. I don't know, but they were about to. There was about to be a confrontation there. Yeah. I don't know if they would.
I mean, but yeah, you don't. Yeah, because he's always had a plan within a plan. I feel like he could have gotten out of that somehow, or at least the possibility of it. But the Watcher
maybe
probably
that was
just
the plan all along. The Watcher knows that it's all cyclical.
Brandon, you're triggering me there in the chat. Don't bring up that movie.
The clone was alive.
Yeah, it was a clone.
Wasn't actually alive. It was just a bad dream.
Yeah. Don, did you have anything to add in this? To that kind of ending scene with Natasha, or any of the goodbyes that we had?
Bonus scenes. Don't forget the bonus.
Well, we'll get to the post credit scene in just a second. I just want to see if Don had anything to add to what we're talking about.
Yeah, listen, I'm glad that the people who deserve their happy ending got it. Especially Natasha. I mean, she was literally the last person on her world. So the fact that she gets a second chance now, unfortunately, she still doesn't have Clint, who's her best friend, but now, she's got Captain America, she's got Captain Marvel, she's got Nick Fury, so I think she'll be able to build a solid foundation from there. Now she has hope again, also, listen, Peggy Carter didn't know what she was in for, but it's like, hey, I brought you this far, right? You know, we saved the multiverse together. Look, trust me. Go through the door. Go through the door. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Oh, no, also, I wanted to mention that I liked how the Watcher, when Natasha
Yes.
refused to go through the door, the Watcher was like, "Oh, the door was just a metaphor anyway."
I love that. I love that so much.
Yeah.
That reminded me of actually Lost when they talked about the magical box, and it's like it's just a metaphor. There's no really box, but that's just what I thought of. But yeah, I love that he was like, "I'm not going through that door." Well, it's just a metaphor, and just snapped his fingers, and there she's there anyway.
Yeah. All right, I gotta talk about this post-credit scene. Because I watched it and I read it a certain way immediately, and then I watched other YouTube videos and nobody else seems to have read it this way. Or I think maybe one other video they kind of mentioned it. But I watched it and my immediate reaction was, oh, that's setting us up for a season 2 episode called What If Steve Rogers Was the Winter Soldier? Because to me, like, he's in there and he's been controlled by Hydra, and they've been using him in the Hydra Stomper as the Winter Soldier for all, because how else would he still be alive? And it does seem to imply, because that they use the opening scene of that film, that the same thing plays out here, that Hydra is really S.H.I.E.L.D. and all of that stuff, but Bucky isn't alive, or Bucky is alive, rather, or he was alive at the end of Peggy Carter's version of Captain America, the First Avenger, Captain Carter, the First Avenger. So Bucky wouldn't be the Winter Soldier. I'm assuming Steve became the Winter Soldier, but that was just my first immediate reaction when I saw that. I was like, oh, next year is What If Steve Rogers Was the Winter Soldier? But I don't know. I could be wrong. What did you guys make of that, the post-credit scene? Anyone who wants to jump in.
Sure, I can jump in. I thought it was funny that Peggy actually gets punched when she's brought back because she's not ready
Oh, yeah.
for the fight. She's like, ah, right. That was kind of, I mean, not nice for her, but it was funny to see that.
Yeah.
You know, that it's not the easiest transition in changing worlds. I love that she was so happy to see Natasha. It reminded me of other films where characters have done time travel and they come back and they're like, "Oh, you're here, you're alive. Oh, I'm so." Like, and Natasha's like, "Yeah, like, are you okay? Like, Peggy, were you hit in the head a couple of times? Yeah, but it's okay." You know.
Yeah.
Which I also love that they address that, because they never seem to address that in superhero films. Like, how many concussions have you had? A lot. And then Natasha has that line of, "You're going to want all your marbles for this one," which was great. I assumed that this was a way for them to bring Steve back into her world, because she's transferred from like the 1940s to modern times. But whether or not he has been brainwashed by Hydra and he's like a Hydra-controlled agent, I don't know. I hope that he's not. The only reason I think that maybe he isn't is because when we find Steve, they start playing his theme song, and it's the theme song from like when, you know, he becomes Captain America.
Yeah.
And when he rescues all those guys and comes back during World War II, it's the same song that's playing. So I'm not sure if they play that just for recognition's sake, that like, okay, yes, it is actually Steve in the Hydra Stomper, because we don't see his face.
Yeah.
We just see the machine. But with all that sort of tech around him, it does remind me of all of the Winter Soldier stuff. So I don't know. My answer is I don't know. It could go either way.
Yeah.
I think they have more of a storyline if he's been brainwashed.
Yeah, I'm not sure what they do, because I have heard that Captain Carter is going to be a reoccurring character in this show.
Mm-hmm.
So if that's the case, and they would have had, and they don't have post-credit scenes for no reason. So it's definitely something that will be followed up on. And I could be completely wrong. I just don't know what else are they going to do with Steve Rogers. I guess he's going to become the, what was it called? the Iron Stomp, the Hydra Stomper. He's just going to become the Hydra Stomper in modern times, and that's I don't know. That just doesn't seem like there's got to be something to it. So I assume it was Winter Soldier, but I guess we'll see.
I mean, he was named the Hydra Stomper because he was destroying Hydra, so it would be very ironic if now he is the Hydra Stomper. The other option is they could be testing their like alternative super soldier program, the one that Hydra was working on, and so maybe he doesn't need the suit eventually. I don't know. We'll see what they do with him.
Yeah, maybe he got super soldiered up. Mark or Don? Mark, do you have any thoughts?
I was a bit confused by this as well. I was kind of leaning more to what you were saying. That's kind of because my conclusion when I saw the scene was just like, so what are they saying here? Like, it's like I think I needed more. I think it would be much more interesting and better storytelling if it's Steve Rogers as the new Winter Soldier. And I think what you were saying, if they had an episode in season 2 called "What If," I think what if Steve Rogers was the Winter Soldier? That would be a really interesting way to continue the Peggy Carter storyline, the Captain Carter storyline. I think that would have like a really different dynamic of her having to fight Steve Rogers. Like that would be amazing. So I hope that's what they're going for. And I find it really interesting to hear you say that a lot of other commentators are saying that didn't even bring that up, because that's, to me, that is also came to my mind. Like, I mean, what did they think the scene was about? Did they think, oh, Steve is going to be back and they're going to be reunited and live happily ever after?
Yeah, it seemed like people were talking about it like it was a happy thing. Like, oh, it was a really happy thing. I was like, oh, it was. Anyway, it was happy for Peggy because she doesn't know that he's been brainwashed and turned into the Winter Soldier yet. That's what I read it. But
I mean, the fact that it is. Like, I can't. It's been a long time since I've seen The Winter Soldier. It's one of my favorite movies. But if I remember correctly, someone who's seen it more recently or more familiar with the movie, with that scene with the boat they went to, wasn't that somehow tied into like the Super Soldier program with Bucky or whatnot?
John's the Winter Soldier fan.
Maybe
you can answer that question.
No comment. No, I'm definitely not the Winter Soldier, so no.
Yeah. So you're not sure.
I'd have to review the movie again, but I'm pretty sure there was like, something.
Was that boat? Yeah. What was the deal with that boat? No, wasn't that boat? She was just downloading. It was actually Steve sent her to Nick Fury sent her to download.
The information,
something.
Yeah, it was basically trying to get Natasha to download all of the it was Zola's algorithm, and then I think a bunch of the Hydra information.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Right.
And Steve was just rescuing people that had been taken.
Yeah. There were some hostages.
There's some hostages involved.
Yeah.
Like there was a hostage situation, right? Right.
So this could be different though, but I feel like that it was tied into the overall story of the Winter Soldier, so they could just be simplifying it. And so, but it all makes me think that this is the Winter Soldier. That's the Steve Rogers.
That's what I thought.
Poor Peggy. She's going to be like, so the day I marry the love of my life, turns out he's like a super secret sleeper agent for Hydra, and he's been brainwashed.
Yeah. It would be a new twist in the story. I mean, Steve and Bucky had a very close relationship. They were very, very close friends, lifelong friends. But then now Peggy, having the love of her life, become the Winter Soldier. I think it would be compelling television. I would actually be disappointed if they didn't do that, to be perfectly honest. Yes. But I think, Don, did you have any thoughts on that scene, or whether you think he's the Winter Soldier or anything else?
I mean, I think that would be interesting. I mean, look, given the way that things have ended for, the other episodes, though, I think it would be a little too tragic at that point, because remember, Peggy wanted to actually have the happy ending, so to send her back to her time where it's like, oh yeah, you're needed there. She goes, she gets her hopes up, and then her hopes get dashed. I'm like, no. It's just that's a little bit too dark.
I think it
Unless
would
we
work
can
out for her.
rescue.
Yeah, I think
Unless
it would
we can
work
do a
out for
rescue.
yeah.
Go ahead.
I think it would work out for her in the end, though. Like Bucky ended up okay after a long period of time. I mean, maybe Steve, ends up going to Wakanda and gets cured, and everything's okay in the end. And then she still gets that happy ending eventually, but has to go through some tragedy first. Maybe, I don't know.
I think she needs to be there to stop Hydra from killing everyone with their little secret weapon thingy that kills all the people they want to kill. At the end of Winter Soldier. Because she needs to be there to stop them from doing that. So that's why she's needed.
Yeah.
Plus, it would give her a very strong motivation to take down Hydra if they brainwashed her, fiance slash love of her life. She's like, now it's personal. you know. Okay.
All right.
Let's get Chinese takeout and hang out with Party Thor. We're done.
I want the everlasting glass of beer that magically refills itself.
I just want the portal for all the takeout.
Yeah. I want Doctor Strange to reach through his tentacle arm through a portal and grab me some Chinese.
Yeah, looking for a new book. Oh, thank you.
Well, I've already got all the Infinity Stones, so I don't need.
So you've got it.
Oh, dear. Yeah. You're already OP.
Yeah. All right, let us sign off and say our goodbyes.
Brandon says nobody mentioned the arrow for Clint. When Natasha says this one's for Clint, and she shoots. That was nice.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. To be honest, I thought that was a little bit corny. I don't know, a little bit, but I don't know. It's a little bit too. I don't know. What's the word I'm looking for? Action movie-y. I don't know, just too tropey, from a movie. This is for you. I don't know. But that's.
I can see that. I can see that.
Their mission was to get that arrow and take out Ultron, so she's essentially completing their mission.
Sure. So. Yeah. Anyways, all right. Let us wrap things up. Dawn, what are you up to? Where can people find you? And
you can find me here on YouTube at a Don of Ice and Fire. You can find me on Twitter at Don Willi. That's IDonWilli. And of course, you can find me with these folks right here whenever I'm invited to be on a panel, and also D's reviews and Smirking Gun sooner or later. And so since I'm one of the Game of Thrones people, of course, when House of the Dragon comes out, I'm going to be all over that. So, wait for me in 2022, people.
I was going to ask you about that. Are you planning to cover House of Dragon? They just dropped the first trailer. So,
I mean, I don't plan on doing much as far as the trailer is concerned. But once the series drops, I'm going to be, doing my regular thing, character bios, et cetera. And you know what? I'm actually gonna get a jump on that starting in a couple of weeks.
Cool. Very cool. Corrie, what are you up to? Where can people find you?
Yes, well, you can find me on my author website, which is called Literature with Charm, or just Google my name, C.L. Shoemaker, initially C.L., like the elves and the shoemaker. I'm on YouTube at Biblical Bliss, also Soothing Scriptures, and my author website, C.L. Shoemaker. And you can find me on Dee's Reviews, doing reviews of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. with him and the guys, which is always fun. I'm hoping to join in on a Kenobi review whenever that happens, and any of the other Disney Plus fun shows that will be popping up. So, yeah. And here on Alyssa's channel if she wants me back.
I would love to have you back if and when I do another discussion panel, which is still up in the air. Maybe Kenobi, maybe House of Dragons. Who knows? Who knows? I do not think I'll be doing Hawkeye. I don't know if Dee plans on coming back for Hawkeye or not, but I don't think I'm going to do Hawkeye. But I would love to do something else in the future and have you all back. Mark, what are you up to?
Cool. So my name is Mark. My channel is Enchantment of Eternity. At the moment, I'm doing random Star Trek episode reviews. I'm also covering Star Trek Lower Decks. I'm going through Star Wars Clone Wars. Once a month, I'll drop a review for the whole season. I'm up to season 2. I'm watching season 3 at the moment. I'm also doing a series called The Perfect Episode, where I take 10 of my favorite episodes from various non-Star Trek, non-Game of Thrones shows that I really like, that I think is a great episode. That's not necessarily my favorite episode of all time, but something that I really want to revisit and explore, and I think should be shared more with people. I did one for that so far for an episode of Black Sails, and next month I'll do an episode of Westworld and cover all various other shows as well. So yeah, that's another thing I'm really excited about doing, and of course more discussion panels like this. I'm always up for it.
Yeah. All right. So my name is Alyssa. This is my channel that you are watching right now. I also cover Star Trek Lower Decks. So those videos will be out weekly on Thursday nights or sometimes Friday morning. I haven't started mine yet for this week, so it might be Friday morning, but it's coming. I guess for the next 2 weeks, because we've only got one more episode after this week. And then, in addition to that, I am dropping different videos every single Friday. And I have a calendar video on my channel. I have a calendar in the discussion tab on the homepage of my channel. If you would like to see what I am doing this month. Tomorrow, I have a couple videos dropping. One of them is my kind of belated review, because it's a couple weeks old now, of Star Wars Visions, where I give my overall thoughts of Star Wars Visions. And then I also rank each of those episodes from my least favorite to favorite. And that'll probably be dropping, I think, at midnight my time tonight. So check that out. Please subscribe if you haven't already. And before we go, I wanted to give a big thanks for Marc for being here every week doing this with me. And a big thank you to Don, I'll get to Don in a second. I was going to actually say Darren first, because he's not here with us, and Rob, who have done a couple of discussions with us and also joined us in the chat various times. So big thank you to those guys. And also Don, who's been here 3 times for this. And of course, many discussions with Marc and I over the years. Always good to have you. And Corrie, it's good to have you on my channel for the first time this year. Thank you for coming, and I will definitely have you back whenever I decide to do any other thing that you are interested in doing as well.
Thank you for inviting me. It's been a blast.
Yeah, this has been really fun. I'm going to, in a way, kind of miss doing these discussions, but at the same time, my Thursday evenings are going to be a little more free after next week, because my Thursday evenings have been, I got to get my Lower Decks review out as soon as possible, and I got to do this what if thing, and that takes up my whole, there's my night. so it is going to be kind of nice to have freedom on my Thursday evenings pretty soon, but also I'm going to miss these discussions. They're a lot of fun. So I really enjoyed having all of you. Hope to see you guys all soon, and everybody who's watching in the chat or watching in the archives. I hope to see you all soon on my channel as well. So good night, and we'll see you sometime.
Viva Las Vegas!